Hello, my name is Father Thomas Steinke. I'm currently serving at St. Anthony of Padua Parish in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Today is Monday of Holy Week, and I'll be talking about the death of saints and sinners. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. At that time, Jesus left Samaria for Galilee. For Jesus himself testified that a prophet has no honor in his native place. When he came into Galilee, the Galileans welcomed him, since they had seen all that he had done in Jerusalem at the feast, for they themselves had gone to the feast. Then he returned to Cana in Galilee, where he had made the water wine. Now there was a royal official whose son was ill in Capernaum. When he heard that Jesus had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and asked him to come down and heal his son, who was near death. Jesus said to him, "Unless you people see signs and wonders, you will not believe." The royal official said to him, "Sir, come down before my child dies." Jesus said to him, "You may go. Your son will live." The man believed what Jesus said to him and left. While the man was on his way back, his slaves met him and told him that his son would live. He asked them when he began to recover. They told him the fever left him yesterday about 1 p.m. The father realized that just at that time Jesus had said to him, "Your son will live," and he and his whole household came to believe. Now this was the second sign Jesus did when he came to Galilee from Judea. The Gospel of the Lord. So today's psalm says, "I believe that I shall see the bounty of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord with courage, be stout-hearted, and wait for the Lord." So as we approach Good Friday, when we meditate on the passion and death of our Lord, it's also a good time to reflect on the end of our lives. And one of the most important things to understand is that most people die just as they had lived, either devoted to God or estranged from God. George Santayana was a Spanish-born philosopher, poet, and essayist whose relationship with religion was stormy all his life. He is a baptized Catholic, but never received any of the other sacraments. One author described him as a Catholic atheist. A few days before he died of cancer, after years of care by religious sisters in Rome, the nun who had quietly served him all that time felt obliged to say, "You're dying. You should see a priest and make your peace with God." He replied, "Say no more of this. I shall die as I have lived." She didn't ask him, "Are you suffering?" He answered, "Not physically, but mentally." When she asked him what he meant, he replied simply, "Desperation." Joan Crawford was a famous American actress who had a very difficult life. She struggled with alcoholism, was divorced 3 times, and had left the Catholic Church many years before she died. As she was on her deathbed, she said to her housekeeper, who had begun to pray aloud, "How dare you ask God to help me?" David Hume, atheist philosopher famous for his philosophy of empiricism and skepticism of religion, cried aloud on his deathbed, "I am in flames." And it was said that those around said that desperation was a horrible scene. In a Newsweek article with the daughter of Joseph Stalin, she told of her father's death. "My father died a difficult and terrible death. God grants an easy death only to the just. At what seemed the very last moment, he suddenly opened his eyes and cast a glance over everyone in the room. It was a terrible glance, insane or perhaps angry. His left hand was raised as though he were pointing to something above and bringing down a curse on us all. The gesture was full of menace. The next moment, he was dead. Anton LaVey, author of the Satanic Bible and high priest of the religion dedicated to the worship of Satan, some of his famous quotes are, "There's a beast in man that needs to be exorcised, not exorcised." His dying words were, oh my, what have I done? There's something very wrong. There is something very wrong. Philip II was the king of Spain during the 16th century when Spain was at the height of its power. Conversely, he was a very devout and pious man who strived to do the best for the Catholic Church. On his deathbed, his ulcer-ridden body was crawling with worms and bore an intolerable stench. He called his son, the heir apparent to his throne, and gave him the following advice. I meant to save you this scene, but I wish you to see how the monarchs of this earth end. You see that God has stripped me of all the glory and majesty of a monarch in order to hand them to you. In a few hours I shall be covered with a poor shroud and girded with a coarse rope. The king's crown is already falling from my brow, and death will place it upon yours. 2 things I especially commend you. One is that you always keep faithful to the Holy Catholic Church, and the other is that you treat your subjects justly. The crown will one day fall from your head as it now does from mine. You are young as I once was. My days are numbered and draw to a close. The tale of yours God alone knows, but they too must end. For those of you who have taken the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola, he gives us some tools to aid us in making good decisions in our life. He says, quotes, "Consider what advice you would give someone with respect to how you are living your life if they came to you for counsel." Second, he says, consider how you wish you would have lived your life if you were on your deathbed. Finally, consider how you would have wished that you would have lived your life if you are on the judgment seat in the presence of Jesus Christ. We must have the right perspective on this life. We're here temporarily to live, suffer, and die for the glory of God and the salvation of souls, in imitation of our Lord and Master Jesus Christ. This is the holiest week of the year, and the week following Easter is Divine Mercy Sunday. At no other time of the year can one receive more graces from God than in the next 2 weeks. Take advantage of it. On your deathbed, you'll be glad you did it.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing the gospel and homily, I invite you to share it with someone you know who may also find it rewarding, and also to subscribe to the Catholic Voice channel. Please see in the description below if you would like to receive a text message for each daily gospel and homily. Please also keep our missionary priests throughout the world in your prayers. Thank you, and God bless.